Rick, just because he's so tall, needs like a little uplift for his text.
It's
Okay.
probably the small chapel. Okay, sorry, let me go. Let me see if I can. You should.
Where is Rick? Oh, there's Rick.
Ross. Ross.
Yeah. They are.
They're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have that Find My Friends set up on your phone?
Yeah.
With your family?
No. Because I can't.
Well,
Maybe you can get away with that when your kids are very young, but not.
well, just for my mom. So, we will still be able to maybe on the way to the car, on, and maybe do like a gift.
Whatever.
They'll be sitting, our kids are so smart, they'll all be mixed together,
Good.
sitting on each other.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So, okay, the rabbis are gone.
Hi.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good looking mask. Hey.
Oh, we get this today.
Rick Jacobs.
Sure.
Do you want to use it?
I mean, I will.
I would. Oh,
Keep
you
it.
don't have
It's
to.
fine.
We can keep it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a big job, right? Now I'm really rocked. But I guess it's really not making much of a difference.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. Does our uniform have a name? I love it.
What they are. I was gonna
We're still workshopping. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I already told Mari, because it happened earlier today, but I was telling a story to our kindergarten, first, and second graders this morning about this woman who was traveling through the desert. She was tired. She was looking for a place to stay one night, and she came into a town, and nobody wanted to put her up for the evening. They were shutting the doors in her face. They were closing the windows. Nobody wanted to talk to this strange woman. And so she had her bag with her. She emptied it, and she opened it up, and there was a big pot in there. And she started loudly saying, I am so hungry. I could really use some soup right now, but all I have is this stone. And she brought the stone over, plopped it into the pot, and little by little, people got curious. People realized they were hungry, and they started bringing ingredients, and little by little, over time, they made soup together. They enjoyed it, and it was incredible, and she was able to stay the night. And I told our youngest students, and I told Mari today, that not that long ago, a strange woman came to our community with an empty pot and saying, how can we make soup together? And little by little, over the course of this year, we've been adding ingredients to that with her guidance, with her help. And tonight, this whole weekend, is a celebration of Mari. It's a celebration of this community and all that we've been giving for so long and for the many years to come. So we welcome you. Thank you for being here. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to welcome in our Sabbath angels on page 11. Shalom Aleichem.
2, 3, 4.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShabbat, Malachei Elyon. V'im elech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vochem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. V'im elech
not only are the Sabbath Angels guests this evening, but we have our religious school and Briskin 3rd through 6th graders joining us, helping to sing throughout the evening. Incredible. We have mostly kosher, bringing the ruach. Thank you for being here. We have so many incredible people here, you included, but some people that we'd love to make mention of. Our HUC JIR faculty, including Dr. Joshua Holo, our Dean of the Jack H. Skirball campus. Thank you, thank you. We have representatives from HaSochnut, the Jewish agency. We have Yaron Shavit, Deputy Chairman and the Board of Governors. We have Dr. Ilana Cortin, Regional Director of the Western U.S. Office of the Jewish Agency. We have Algom Ben-Chorin, Program Manager of the Sochnut, Western States. We have many, if you're a member of the clergy, just raise your hand. If you are a rabbi, a cantor, yeah, we've got a lot of our colleagues here this evening. So thank you for coming out to support, especially the URJ Director, President, Rick Jacobs. Thank you for being here. Jennifer Kaufman, Chair of the Board of the URJ. We have representatives from LA Voice. We have TIOH past presidents, patrons, board members. We have so many people. Take a second, turn around, say hello. You might meet someone new. You might meet some of the people we just met. Say hello, Shabbat Shalom. Glad you're here. And as we settle in and continue to bring all things warm into this space, let us invite up our co-chairs for this fabulous weekend, Susie Meyer and Stephanie Bressler, who will help us light our Shabbat candles this evening.
You know how at these events, people from different areas in your life come together, and it's just so filling. It's like a little tikkun. It's like a little part of the world is right now because these two incredible people know each other. TIOH, I want you to meet my dear friend and colleague, Cantor Ross Woolman. Cantor Woolman, this is TIOH. It's so special to have you here along with Malka, Aviv, Bina, and Ellie, who are like bonus siblings for our kids. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for helping lead us in prayer tonight.
Shabbat Shalom. In the Mishnah it says, Aseh lecha rav ukneh lecha chaver. Make for yourself a rabbi, a teacher, and you will acquire a friend. And let me tell you, one of the main reasons I came to Phoenix, Arizona was for this rabbi that I'd heard so much about. And I knew her sister Alana from when I was a song leader in Nifty, and I knew her sister Jordana from our time at HUC. But there was this Mari Chernow that I'd heard so much about. And I was in placement, and I heard good things. And I did some research, and you know, the sneaking around that you do to check things out. And it ended up that we did come to Phoenix, Arizona, to Temple Chai, largely because of the weather. Because Chicago, you know, Chicago winters. We saw so much promise and potential for putting roots down for our family in Arizona to this new community. And this wonderful rabbi who welcomed me and just said, let's dream, let's vision, let's make this place incredible together. And I acquired a friend. And for 6 years together, we prayed and we sang and we laughed and we cried and we served a wonderful community. There will be many other words shared tonight, but I just want to share about Mari that the words that are written here on your bima were the words that I was preparing to say. Mari taught me so much, but she very much instilled in me to pay attention. Da lifnei mi ata omed. Know before whom you stand. Sometimes we stand before the grocery store checkout person. There's an opportunity, there's a human being helping you in that moment. In a hospital, sitting with someone who's losing a parent. Standing before the children in our school who run around and scream and are just so excited that you're there. It probably matters what we say, but at the same time, it doesn't matter that what we say because we are present with them in that moment. Stand before couples under the chuppah, before sacred community, and before the one in prayer. On page 243 of Mishkan Tefillah, it says, pray as if everything depends upon God, but act as if everything depends upon you. I think about that every time I teach, every time I pray, every time I go to protest. It's nice to live in the state capitol. You get a lot of opportunity to raise your voice for social justice. And so, Temple Israel of Hollywood, you have a rabbi who loves to pray. Sometimes you may not be moved. Sometimes you might just be like, I don't know, my brain's on something else. I'm not thinking about it. What if we just try that tonight? Pray as if everything depended on God. Know before whom you stand. Before God and before yourself. And of course, it couldn't be said better than by Leonard Cohen, another one of Rabbi Mari's favorites. And so, If It Be Your Will by Leonard Cohen. Let's pray together. If it be your will that I speak no more, and my voice be still as it was before, I will speak no more. I shall abide until I am spoken for, if it be your will. If it be your will that a voice be true from this broken hill, I will sing to you. From this broken hill, all your praises they shall ring. If it be your will to let me sing. If it be your will, if there is a choice, let the rivers fill, let the hills rejoice, let your mercies fill on all these burning hearts in hell. If it be your will,
make us well.
And draw us near and bind us tight, all your children here in their rags of light, in our rags of light, oh, dressed to kill, and endless night, if it be your will, and endless night, if it be your will. Oh, oh, if it be your will.
Page 23 at the bottom, and then 22 at the bottom. La, 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 la,
transition L'cha Dodi, as we welcome the Shabbat bride, we think of the highlights and the difficulties of the week, and we take that all in. Page 29.
L'cha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. l'cha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור ניצחון לניחך, איש ויענו אל המבחן, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשבת תפארת ונתהילה. l'cha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לבו אליך, כי מקור הברכה, לירוש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. l'cha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך ומלוכה, ונצאים מתוך מהפכה, רק לשבת בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חרלה. l'cha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. כי תאריך והכל גומי, נפשי בידך תפתח עמי, על יד אישה ותלמי, קרבה נפשי בעדה. l'cha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
46, we face east, sending our prayers toward Jerusalem for Baruch Hu.
Lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai
Albert Einstein once said that there are two ways of operating in the world. We can live as if nothing's a miracle, or we can live as if everything is a miracle. Today was a miracle, whether we noticed it or not. The rising of the sun, and soon we'll witness, God willing, the setting of the sun and the stars twinkling in the sky. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. And you shall love Adonai your God might. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך.
Amanda Gorman, the young poet who spoke at Biden's inauguration, said that while we might feel small and separate and alone, our people have never been more tightly tethered. The question is not if we will weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together. We're living in unknown times. And we have to remember that we are not alone, that we are tied together. Mi chamocha, page 39.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Viva mocha, Bailim Adonai. Vika
There's so much joy and strength in this room, in this community. And I want to invite us to offer a little bit of that ruach, a little bit of that energy out into the world. Let's push it out from us to those in our lives who could use healing of body, of mind, of spirit. If you are thinking of anyone this evening, we invite you to please share their name either out loud or just hold them close to you at this time. May a full healing come speedily to them.
Please join me in welcoming to the piano a beloved member of our TIOH community who just happens to be my brother, Michael Skloff. "3 years ago, when we celebrated Rabbi Rosav, Michael was commissioned to compose a piece of music for that occasion, and he wrote a beautiful duet that he and I sang together. So I thought it would be fitting for him to compose a piece of music for this occasion, bridging the two events, celebrating both our outgoing and now our incoming senior rabbis. So I commissioned Michael to write a piece. Cantor Perrine Anker inspired me to choose the text, Hayashan yitchadesh v'hachadash yitkadesh, a famous quote by Rav Kook, and it translates, "The old will be made new, and the new will be made holy." Months later, when I told Rabbi Mari about this piece, she told me that this is one of her favorite quotes, and it holds special meaning for her. But I knew I wanted it to be a piece that features this community, for that is also what we celebrate tonight. We are nearly 100 years old and going strong and stepping into this future together. So tonight, you will all be the choir as we raise our voices in song together. The words are in your program, and you'll pick up the tune as it repeats. Please also welcome our 3rd through 6th graders from Briskin and Religious School, led by our wonderful song leader, Isabel Grossman-Sartain. So repeat after me. Hayashan, Yitchadesh, V'hachadash, Yitkadesh.
Oh, Michael. Nothing can follow that. Thank you. I'm a little overwhelmed right now, Michael. Thank you. That was just a beautiful and extraordinary gift from you, Shelley. How just breathtaking and beautiful. And now I've completely lost my place, but I'm really grateful. So much gratitude. Thank you. I look forward to hearing that many more times. Shabbat Shalom. My name's Heidi Siegel, and I am the president of the Board of Trustees of this amazing congregation. And I am, as I said, overwhelmed. And I feel like we're in this moment now. Like, Michael, now we're here, we're in it. I am so pleased to be able to welcome all of you to this very meaningful and joyful Shabbat, one that marks a historic transition for this congregation. And a very special welcome to Rabbi Mari's family, to all of our special guests, to Ross. How honored we are to have you with us. I want to begin my remarks, though, with profound gratitude to our senior Rabbi Emeritus John Rosoff for his 30 years of devotion to Temple Israel of Hollywood. And I want to welcome you back. Seeing you last week at services, seeing you here today, as well as at our Early Childhood Center's Grand Friends Day with Barbara, it just feels so right, John. It really does. Your years of tireless devotion to this community, followed by the last 3 years where you've stepped away and you've gracefully allowed us to move forward with your blessings. And of course, we felt your ever-present support, and certainly I got some wisdom, and that has blessed this congregation beyond words. Thank you to all of our clergy, Rabbi Michelle, Rabbi Calvin, cantoral soloist Shelley Fox, and our remarkable senior staff who led us through the last few years through this rabbinic transitions and the challenges of this pandemic. And a truly special note of thanks to Rabbi Gary Greenenbaum, who I know is here tonight, for his dedication and steady hand for his almost 2 years as our interim senior rabbi. Your expertise and counsel were only seen behind the scenes, but this congregation has much to be grateful to you as well for. Of course, there are so many people to thank, and I'm going to hold off, although you've all heard me give a lot of thanks over the last 2 years, but our leadership Shabbat is just a few weeks away, June 3rd. Be there. But I'd be remiss if I didn't add on to the much-deserved appreciation for Stephanie Bressler, Susie Marks, as well as our development director, Julia Hubner, for ensuring the success for this weekend. Thank you. So, when we embarked on our search for a senior rabbi, what seems like a lifetime ago in May 2019, we initiated a process that would take us on a 2-year journey of reflection and aspiration for what Temple Israel could truly be. This was pre-pandemic, so truly another time. Our search committee, an extraordinary group, more than qualified for their sacred charge, convened and surveyed our membership, conducted focus groups, interviewed staff, and put together a job listing that narrated what we would find in our next senior rabbi. In preparing for today, I revisited that posting and our communications to this community, and I'm feeling, I gotta say, pretty proud. We aimed high, and frankly, I think we nailed it. Here are some highlights from those postings. We're looking for a skilled and experienced organizational leader with exemplary interpersonal skills, high emotional intelligence, collaborative management style, and a good listener. A courageous teacher, thinker, pastor, one who's kind, inspiring, inventive, and a rabbi who will reflect values of Reform Judaism, including creating an inclusive and welcoming environment for our diverse community, Tikkun Olam, and progressive Zionism. Rabbi Mari Chernow, from the time we first met with you, our committee through today, you have consistently presented yourself as the person in that description. In fact, the description seemed to be a description of you, not of necessarily what we were looking for. So the two meeting was just beautiful. You walked into our process and our world as a rabbi who presented us with an understanding and an appreciation for Temple Israel's rich history and legacy, and with a vision for what the future could hold. You are authentic, funny, honest, and inspiring. You've begun your tenure with deep commitment to relational Judaism. You've committed yourself in just a few months to having as many coffees, conversations as dinners, and as your schedule and our COVID protocols would allow. And I know this is an ongoing priority for you. You want to get to know us, and when you get to know us, you see us. We feel that. As we move toward the 100-year anniversary of Temple Israel, a milestone you speak of often already with excitement, Rabbi Mari, you have clearly expressed to the staff and our board how you want to enter our next century stronger than ever. You're committed to seeing our congregation thrive, to continue to advocate for equity and justice, to appreciate the arts, to educate our children, create lifelong learners in our teens, and to care for one another, and to engage in meaningful prayer. On behalf of our Board of Trustees and our community, I promise to you that we will honor our promise of partnership with you to strive for this shared vision for Temple Israel. We'll welcome your ideas. We'll engage in conversation, debate, and dreams with you and with our exceptional clergy and staff, and we look forward to our years ahead, many years, where we will laugh, we'll dream, we'll pray, we'll learn, we'll protest, we'll advocate, celebrate, and take care of one another. Mari Chernow, we will dance. So I now have the great honor of introducing Rabbi Rick Jacobs to you, the president of the Union for Reform Judaism, who generously agreed to join us as our special guest and speaker this evening. Rabbi Jacobs is president of the URJ, the most powerful force in North American Jewish life. The URJ leads the largest and most diverse Jewish movement in North America, reaching more than 1.5 million people through nearly 850 congregations, including ours, 15 overnight camps, the Reform Teen Movement, NIFTY, the Religious Action Center in Washington, D.C. For nearly 150 years, the URJ has been at the forefront in promoting an open, progressive Judaism. Rabbi Jacobs is a longtime and devoted creative change agent. He spent 20 years as a visionary spiritual leader at Westchester Reformed Temple in Scarsdale, and before that, during his tenure as the rabbi of Brooklyn Heights Synagogue, where he created the first homeless shelter in a New York City synagogue. He is a tireless advocate for an Israel that's secure, Jewish, democratic, and pluralistic, with a vibrant Reform Jewish community. Rabbi Jacobs has studied for 2 decades at Jerusalem Shalom Hartman Institute, a place very familiar to our clergy, where he is a senior rabbinic fellow. Rabbi Jacobs is regularly featured in media outlets such as the New York Times, the Washington Post, Haaretz, The Forward, NPR, and CNN, amongst others. I am honored and truly blessed to be able to experience the wisdom and leadership of Rabbi Jacobs through my service on the URJ's National North American Board. I'm going to get respect for that. It is with such joy to be able to tonight introduce him, my friend, my rabbi, to all of you. Rabbi Jacobs.
Thank you, Heidi. I mean, you know Heidi Siegel as this dynamo president of Temple Israel, but can I just tell you, she's not only leading this congregation, she is a pillar for our North American movement and has been unbelievably present, creative, appropriately agitational, and leading with such remarkable gifts. So, Heidi, thank you for what you do here. Thank you what you do for all of us everywhere. So I can't tell you how honored I am to be here tonight to help shower blessings upon my beloved colleague, your new senior rabbi, Rabbi Mari Chernow. Now, you know this installation wasn't originally planned for May. It wasn't supposed to be warm. It was supposed to be January. But then again, that COVID thing intervened. And we've learned what to do throughout this pandemic. We learned the leadership pivot. You somehow find a way to pivot and recalculate, and here we are in this moment, fully present. Can I just say that that ability to pivot is the cornerstone of adaptive leadership. It's a kind of leader who doesn't get frozen in any moment or any mindset, who's always so present that there is a clarity about what needs to happen, not what has happened. Now, last week we focused our attention on a parsha, Kiddushim. It's all about making the whole community holy. This week we get right to it. It's all about leaders and how do leaders create the kind of community that all of us want to be a part of. Because community doesn't just happen. No, it has to be sown, it has to be grown, it has to be nurtured, it has to be loved into reality. The opening of this week's parsha says, Emor el ha-kohanim, speak to the priests, the ancient leaders. Last week was about community. This week, it's about the people who have to bring it all together. Kind of feels like a good focus for this service of installation. Now, the great 11th century French Torah commentator Rashi gets inside what the Holy One wants Moses to tell the ancient leaders called the priests. Rashi says that Moses should admonish the big ones about the little ones. By this, Rashi meant that the priests should be reminded to be humble and not lord themselves over the people. It seems that staying humble is a perennial challenge of leadership. Even the regular complaints Jewish leaders receive could still not keep one from getting filled with power and the prestige of our positions. So I think being reminded to stay humble is a super important thing for almost all Jewish leaders, but I actually don't think it's something that your senior rabbi, Rabbi Mari, needs to worry about. When Mari and I talked about tonight months ago, she said something that just stuck so much in my mind and in this moment. She told me one specific instruction. She said, please don't focus on me. Oh, right. Your installation will not even mention your name. We'll just talk about a little Torah, we'll talk about the congregation, but of course we're going to talk about you. But when we talk about you, Mari, it's you in this incredible web of relationship and commitment and courage. It's not usual that someone has Herculean strength and profound humility together. But your new rabbi, she's that person, when you're in her presence, you know that you're in the presence of a spiritual master. I know she's making that face like, stop already. Stop. She is grounded, she's wise, she is open, approachable, joyful, inspiring, deep, and so much more. Now, it's also worth remembering that according to the book of Leviticus, the most important Jewish leaders are the Kohanim, and they don't choose to be leaders, rather they're born into leadership. Rabbi Mari is not a Kohen. At least I don't think the family are Kohanim. No, just checking, got to do that. But I actually think it's fair to say that she was born into leadership. Her parents, Eli and Arlene, who are here tonight, are devoted leaders of our movement. Arlene, having served for decades on our URJ senior staff, is a pioneer of interfaith outreach. And Eli spent years serving on our North American board. And you're probably all aware, at least by now, that Mari's two sisters are also Reform rabbis. And yes, you will want to come tomorrow to hear more about this remarkable Reform Jewish von Trapp family. Now, in general, inherited leadership is not a good idea. Just look at the British royal family or the Hasmonean dynasty. Leadership should be earned and developed. It's not in a person's genes. Well, that is, unless you're born into the Chernow family. One more important point about the Kohanim. It was and remains a leadership role open only to men. On a basic level, this is simply incomprehensible to us. The entire year that we have been not only leading our way through these holy days and through the months of this year, we have been focused as the Reform movement, and I think as a Jewish world, on the 50th anniversary of the ordination of Rabbi Sally Priesand, the first woman ordained here in North America as a rabbi. And I'm thrilled that Jennifer Brodke Kaufman is here tonight. She is the perfect sacred partner but only the second woman to be board chair of the URJ. Ouch, ouch. We've come a long way, but many big shifts happened only recently, and yes, there's much more to do. Now, the great suffragist Elizabeth Cady Stanton, she published a whole commentary on the Bible in 1895, and she has something to say about this week's Torah portion. She focused on the 24th chapter of Leviticus, and it mentions Shlomit bat Dibri, an Israelite woman whose son blasphemed God. Now, Elizabeth Cady Stanton comments that Shlomit bat Dibri is the only woman mentioned in the book of Leviticus by name. And Stanton says the following, and I'll quote, "This is probably due to the fact that the son's character was so disreputable that he would reflect no luster on his father's family, and so on his maternal ancestors rested his disgrace. If there had been anything good to tell of him, reference would no doubt have been made to his male progenitors. If she were alive today, I am sure Elizabeth Cady Stanton would be joining the abortion rights protest in D.C. this Tuesday, sponsored by our partners at the National Council of Jewish Women. She'd no doubt be as angry as we are that the Bible, religion, and American law are being used to restrict a woman's right to make her own health care and moral decisions. You know, we are Jews, and we're called the people of the book, the Am HaSefer. But let's just reflect for a moment. Can I just see it by a show of hands? How many of you walked into a bookstore in the last month and bought a book? Put your hand up. All right. First of all, that's an encouraging sign for all those bookstores that barely are holding on. Now, if in the last month you've bought a book, but not in a bookstore, you've done it with your computer, maybe it's a paperback or a hardcover that arrives at your doorstep, or maybe a Kindle, put your hand up if you bought scientific study, overwhelmingly the second. Now, what does that mean? It means we're getting our books differently. Does it mean we're reading less? Does it mean we're not the people of the book? No. It's about how the change has changed the way we, in a sense, experience that learning, but it does not necessarily diminish. Now, I tell you that story, this true story about our world, because we're at a moment in Jewish life where we're going to get our Judaism in different ways. We're going to be connected in different ways, but it does not have to signal that this is about less. It can be about more. So here's the best news. The Pew surveys, not just the one that we've been studying, the most recent one, but even the one that goes back a few years, it says that what young people are looking for, it's what we do here. Did you feel the vitality and the vibrancy of this congregation tonight? Did you see your rabbi dancing with all of her heart and soul? Actually, the Pew survey says people are looking for a Judaism that is authentic, that stands for something, and that is inclusive. They're looking for a Judaism that is continuing to grow here in this remarkable congregation. And they're going to get their Judaism, and they're going to find their connection, and it's going to be different, but it could, in fact, be even stronger. Now, for almost 100 years, you've heard it, almost 100 years you've been doing this work. You should be tired, you should be old, you should be history. You should be about yesterday, but this congregation is not about yesterday. It's about today, and it is about tomorrow. Do you think all of the leaders who founded this congregation would recognize what you do every day here? Would they recognize all the melodies and the causes that you stand for? No, but they would recognize the intensity and the depth of what you do. Now, it was a little while back, I walked into one of our almost 850 congregations with a senior leader of the URJ who is African American and Jewish. And as we walked into this Reform congregation, I was handed a siddur, a prayer book, and she was handed a brochure. The brochure is that brochure that you have on hand when someone comes to visit who is not Jewish, which explains what happens and what all the sacred objects are. Now, The person did it with such warmth and love and care, but that moment is a moment that signals that we have not understood who we are. We have not understood where our strength is, where our diversity gives us our superpower. And that, my friends, is part of the work for us. Now, as luck would have it, I'm coming back to Los Angeles next Friday. It's not enough for me to be here this Shabbat, although I would have come no matter when it was. I've got to come back next Friday because we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Beit Chaim Chadashim, which was the first congregation in 1974. On June 9th, the UAHC voted to bring into our union the first openly LGBTQ congregation in the world. And my predecessor, Rabbi Alexander Schindler of blessed memory, he wasn't going to take no for an answer. And people were not ready in 1974 for that move, but he knew it was the right thing. As we know today, the diversity has to get stronger and wider and more reflective of who we really are. And if we actually can be authentic to who we are, we could be more than the 2 million people that Pew says the Reform movement is in North America. We could find more strength and more life and more vitality. That's on us to do. You've had such remarkable rabbinic leadership in this congregation. Through the decades, you have had the Gidolei Hador, some of the giants of literally modern Jewish life have led your congregation. The one I happen to know very well was the Rabbi Emeritus. John Rosoff and I were together at Camp Swig. He was quite a folk dancer. I don't know if you can remember. Man, that guy could folk dance, and he could remember all those intricate steps. I was just teaching modern dance, but no, that folk dance was a whole different thing. And he happens to be one of the most committed Zionists in the modern rabbinate. Oh, and did I say he's a very progressive Zionist? And somehow he balanced his congregational duties while serving as the co-chair of the J Street Rabbinic Cabinet and as the chair of ARTSA, the Association of Reformed Zionists of America. And somehow this congregation let him do all those things. So I wanted to say, your senior rabbi is going to do all kinds of things, and sometimes it's going to be right here, but she's also going to need to be out in the world leading, and I know that's also one of the traditions that's rich here. And I know that Israel matters to her because we share that love of the Shalom Hartman Institute. Now, John and Mari, I want to tell you that we sent more young people last summer to Israel than we have in over a decade. And that was during a pandemic. And we made a commitment to send even more this year, next year, and the year after. And a very proud Reformed Jew, Bernie Mark, has made it possible to get a $3,000 scholarship for every single teen that travels on these trips. And they are transformational. He understood that sending young people when they're younger for longer is deeper. And that's part of what we need to grow more connectedness. Birthright is wonderful, but it's coming late. We need them there younger. Now, in a few months, I'm hoping that we'll be able to announce the largest investment the state of Israel will ever have made in a diaspora Jewish community when they fund our multi-million-dollar, multi-year program for teen Israel leadership. And that announcement is going to come, I pray, just in the near future. But let me tell you, it was the day that war broke out in Ukraine. It was when we went in to meet with the Prime Minister of Israel. We hadn't met with the Prime Minister for 6 years because the Prime Minister before this one thought that evangelical Christians were more to his liking than liberal Jews around the world. But we went and we met with this Prime Minister, who we do not agree with on many, many things, but he was respectful. And he heard us not just share critique, but love. That we were there with every ounce of our strength. And we were there as well to meet with the leadership. And I know that it wasn't in the LA Times, but there's this paper out of New York called the New York Times. And in today's paper, there's a feature about Rabbi Gilad Kariv, who's a member of Knesset, brilliant, and transformational, helping to reshape not only the government but the country, because he's bringing liberal Judaism to a much wider swath. Now that is something to be incredibly excited about. So as I wind down, I just want to tell you that justice is what not only makes a synagogue alive, it is at the heart of our tradition. And this Tuesday, we're going to also launch our civic engagement campaign, because the voting rights bill was drafted in our Religious Action Center in Washington, D.C., and we cannot watch as the voting rights of this country are literally torn apart. We're calling our campaign Every Voice, Every Vote. It's theological that every person should be counted. I hope you'll join with us, not just in opening the process to more people. It's nonpartisan, but it is crucial. And if you're passionate about racial justice, abortion rights, climate justice, immigration reform, then you'll join us in making sure that Reformed Jews are out there not only being spiritual in the synagogue, but being spiritual out in the world, where we have to shape a more just and a more compassionate world. Mari, this is an overwhelming task. I don't know if you're thinking to myself, how in the world is one person supposed to do all this? Well, the great news is one person isn't supposed to do all this. And as amazing and as inspiring as you are, you do not have to do it. In fact, you cannot do it. And you have this amazing team. What a gift that you have such remarkable religious leaders who bring heart and soul and creativity to everything they do. That team will be unleashed because, Mari, you know how to lead from within. Not over, but from within. And that will be the secret. Do you know we're short on rabbis right now? The pipeline in is not so strong. But what's going to help is people will grow up in a community and they will experience passionate, smart, creative, courageous rabbis. And that's going to make them not only think about the rabbinate, but choose. But can I just ask you to do one thing? Would you take loving care? That's the other thing that will get people to go become rabbis, to see how unbelievably supported. Would you make sure she has time to be with her beloved family, with her incredible inner circle? Would you make time so she can also study and hike and replenish the spirit that keeps her alive? The ancient priesthood was a cadre of elite leaders, but a Torah also says the goal was to make everyone a kingdom of priests, a mamlechet kohanim, all of us together. But it's going to take all of us through leadership that will unleash that power, unleash that holiness, and that's where your rabbi comes in, and that's where you come in, and your lay leaders and all of those who make this community holy. So Rabbi Chernow, here's the end. There are so many people, past, present, and future, who are counting on you. Some have known you for years, others have no idea who you are. That is until you change the course of their life for good. Please resist the temptation that too many religious leaders have to be beholden to the status quo. Bring Torah to every burning issue. Always remember that our movement is the movement of change, of growth, of experimentation, of courage, of imagination. Make this storied congregation your greenhouse of bold experiments as you find ever new ways to be the change we seek. Amen.
Goodness, it's just so overwhelming. I'm so grateful. You've heard a little bit about this tonight, but nonetheless, I'll ask you to travel back in time with me for a few minutes. It's the mid-1920s. The President of the United States is Calvin Coolidge. The decade is roaring. Alcohol is prohibited but consumed. Women have been voting for only a small handful of years. Penicillin will enter the scene soon, as will the League of Nations, the pertussis vaccine, and the television set. Claude Monet, Rudolph Valentino, and Bessie Coleman will exit. America has seen its darkest chapter of cruelty and oppression, while Europe's is yet to come. White supremacy is a national scourge at home, while in Italy, Mussolini is about to grant himself full control of Italy's armed forces. Popular films are Charlie Chaplin's The Gold Rush and Ben-Hur. Babe Ruth is about to hit 3 home runs in Game 4 of the World Series. Against this backdrop, 7 families found Temple Israel of Hollywood. Or, as I like to think of it, 7 families decide to send us a message and a gift. The message says this: you live in the most incredible city in America. It is bright, bustling, progressive, optimistic, and wildly creative. The possibilities are endless here. People will come by the millions to think, to feel, and to dream. This city will become the storytelling capital of the world. And this is the gift. They founded Temple Israel of Hollywood, though in full disclosure, there's a bit of debate about whether our community was founded in 1925 or 26. There were milestone moments in both years, so I promise you we will work that out before you get invited to our 100th anniversary celebration. But the point is that very shortly after the original Hollywoodland sign went up, our founders intuited that there is something unique about this context, something worthy of investing in. They intuited that we, all these years later, we will have so very much, but we'll be lost without a spiritual home. They send the gift of TIOH all the way across time to us, right here and right now. They send us the tools of our tradition, Torah, prayer, the life cycle, holidays, activism, and above all, community. Could they envision all those years ago the illustrious leaders who would get us to this moment? Could they predict the esteemed guests who would speak from this very bima? Could they possibly have imagined the over 600 children in our groundbreaking schools right now? Why wouldn't they think big? They were from Hollywood, after all. And now, nearly 100 years later, it's our turn to think big and to start asking, what will Jewish life look like for the next 100 years, and how can we lead the way? What message do we want to send to our descendants and our spiritual descendants? What gifts do we want to give them? Answering those questions will be our work to do together. I'm so looking forward to those conversations. For now, I want to share with you my starting place, which is 2 parts, a certainty and a hunch. The certainty is that it is the honor of a lifetime to be standing here tonight. There is a sacred trust that you are placing in me, and I can only match that with the promise that I will give everything I've got to leading us into the next chapter. You have my word that I will never take for granted those who came before us and built our history, or those who lovingly serve our community day in and day out. Our clergy, our staff, our faculties, our board, our volunteers. They give in far too many ways to name. They are so hardworking and so special. We are so lucky. Truth is, we are lucky to have every single member of this community. And on a personal note, you have embraced not only me, but also my beloved family, Kara, Malila, Ezra, and Lillian. That's all part of the honor and the sacred trust. And I am certain that it means the world to us. And now for the hunch, which is that when TIOH celebrates its 200th year anniversary, the human condition will be more or less what it always has been and what it is today. That future generations will be just like us in that they will enjoy moments that are so beautiful, they take their breath away. They will have days when wholeness and joy fill them up completely. And they will have days like we do, when the weight they carry will be crushing, when their hearts break with loneliness, fear, regret, and despair. And so I want us to give them the very same gifts the tools and technologies of the Jewish tradition. And I want us to teach them how to aim those gifts toward everything that makes up the human condition, the reveling and the reckoning and everything in between. We send that to them by starting right now. The Torah that our founders gave us, let's use it to tell great stories and to understand what the heck happens in families. The prayer that they gave us, let's use it to feel lofty sometimes and heartfelt and quiet at others. Let's build it so that there's always space to dance and always time to cry. Holidays in the life cycle, they are there for the very sake of our emotional landscapes, which are deep and so complex. The seasons change, our lives change. Let's use our rituals to ensure that we say whatever it is we need to say to each other when those things happen. Chavruta, it's the method through which we study text. Let's use that to become masters of listening, experts in respectful civil dialogue. And finally, for now, our Jewish impulse to convene. A Beit Knesset is a house of gathering, after all. Let's use that to harness our power, to make certain, in the words of Rabbi Max Nussbaum at the Democratic National Convention of 1960, that we labor as zealously for the right to pursue justice as we have so diligently for the right to pursue happiness. Let's agree that all the work we do in here will send us out there to do some good. Kedoshim was last week, but there's a section in this week's Parsha that's 3 verses long, and yet the word kadosh and its derivatives appear 6 times. 6 times we read about kedusha, holiness. The text is screaming out something to us loud and clear. Be holy. The stuff of your life is holy. Treat it as such. Decide what is holy: love, awe, accountability, hope, compassion, comfort, truth-telling. Decide what is holy and fill every minute you possibly can with that. And when you are given a sacred gift, like a community from 100 years ago, know that it's your job to hold it gently, lovingly, and passionately. It's your job to protect it and keep it strong. It's your job to take what is old and make it new, and take what is new and make it holy. Right here in this bright, bustling, progressive, optimistic, and wildly creative city. What do you say? Let's get to it. Shabbat Shalom. It's my pleasure now to call on our beloved Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi John Rosav.
Wow, it's great to be back. It's good to see you all. And Shelley, whatever you do feels like gold. Michael, continue to compose. Our kids and Isabel, have you grown? Our colleagues here on the Bima, and so many rabbis and cantors here who in a moment I'm going to ask to come forward. My teachers from the Hebrew Union College, some of whom are here, some of you whom have gone to the Yeshiva Shomala. But on a day like this, I'm thoughtful of the Psalms. Zehayom asa Adonai nagila v'nismecha bo. This is the day that God has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. I also want to say a word about my friend almost of 50 years, Rick. That you are here, and Jen Kaufman, the chair of our national board of the URJ, and Yaron Shavit. Yaron, where are you? There you are. I knew you'd be in the room. Yaron is the past chair of the Israel Movement for Progressive Judaism. And as if that wasn't the highest he could go, he became the deputy chair of the Jewish Agency for Israel, which was the pre-statehood government of the state of Israel run by Ben-Gurion. You continue to make us in the Reform movement your own proud. And I want to say as well that the link between Israel and Temple Israel, between this sacred community and the peoplehood of Israel and the statehood of Israel is strong. And I know with Rabbi Mari, it will continue to be strong going forward. We are honored to have you and your colleagues from the Sochnut here with us. I am beyond honored to be part of this celebration of Rabbi Mari Chernow, the 8th senior rabbi in the history of Temple Israel of Hollywood. And I believe, Mari, that this congregation was established in 1927. But Jerry Mund, which is it? Okay, you know what? You've been here longer than me, so I will accept that. Rabbi Chernow, as those of you who have come to know her, embodies the very best of the Reform movement's progressive and inclusive values and spirit, and she's graced with the requisite wisdom, vision, intelligence, experience, talent, skill, and heart to lead our diverse community forward. Mari, you've been given the zechut, the privilege to serve as our spiritual leader in these challenging times for our community, city, nation, and people. My family and I wish you, Kara, and your children, Melila, Ezra, and Lily, the greatest happiness, satisfaction, and success here as you carry forward the life of this congregation. In this sanctuary where so many inspired people have made, are making, and will make voyages of faith in their day-to-day lives, I wish for your leadership to be a prayer and an inspiration for this center of holy activism, such that we can all say and do every day, according to the words of Genesis, Yehi Or, and let there be light, Yehi Tov, and let there be goodness. Mazal Tov with my respect, excitement, and love. And now I'd like to invite all the rabbis and cantors who are here to come forward with me to invoke upon you, Rabbi Mari, and upon this sacred assembly, the Birkat Kohanim, the blessing of the priests, the blessings of our people. Come close, come close. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. May the divine light shine upon us all and grant us peace, the people of Ukraine peace, the people of Israel peace, and all of humankind peace. And Mari, may you lead us with that in your heart always, as I know it is there. And may you and your family be a great blessing to this community and to the Jewish people. Amen.
So much of tonight has been looking to the future, what we can imagine. And just for a moment, we'll step into memory and remember those who allowed us to reach this moment, those who inspired us, those who taught us, those who challenged us to be more. Tonight, our community is remembering Samuel Atlas, Samuel Barron, Esther Bernstein, Selma Brown, Ann Bubser, Jeanette DeCove, Dorothy Benoff Feldman, Seymour Gale, Philip Gersh, Gloria Goldhirsch, Daniel Heyman, Helma Jackie, George Carfield, Max Kay, Stanley Krell, Francis Michelson, M. Lawrence Popovsky, Bessie Schaefer, Daniel Sterling, Dale Weinberg, Irving Wallace, Philip Zepker. And there are members of this community who are experiencing the first 30 days of Shloshim, of losing Selena Bojarski, Jose Lieberman, Leah Didi Marciano, Stephanie Denise Gregory Mitchell, Lenore Wax. And this week, we have lost Hanoch Hank Barcone, and we're also remembering the Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. If the name of your loved one has been read aloud, we'll invite you, if you're able, to rise so that we may acknowledge those among us who are remembering. And if the name of your loved one has yet to be mentioned aloud, but you'd like to bring them into this space, we'll invite you, if you're able, to rise and to either say their name out loud or to hold them in your hearts. Thank you. Thank you. And as a community, we elevate to support those who are remembering. So we'll invite you, if you're able, to rise as we offer the words of Kaddish Yatom on page 292, the words of Mourner's Kaddish, to support those who are remembering, as well as to offer these words for those who have no one to say them for them. We join together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach hirite v'amlich malchute, b'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu, le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oh, say shalom, b'romav. Oh, say shalom, b'romav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Bring peace down. May the one who makes me v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila, lemikra'e kodesh, zecher l'siyat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'charta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shar kodshecha, ve'ava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat lechaim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'avo.
Thank you so much, everybody. This has been such a privilege and an honor and a pleasure. We're going to have dinner outside. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom.